So I'm an idiot. I just recorded this whole intro and I didn't press record. So let's try this again. What's going on, everybody? Cryptic Gaming here. We're back for my first Madden 20 video of the year. As you can see, I did sign someone out of free agency. We did pick up Nick Perry to play defensive end for us, just because I'd like to try to generate some pressure this year, especially since we got Cleveland Farrell. Hopefully they'll focus on him since he's the higher overall, and Cleveland Farrell will be one-on-one and get a bunch of sacks so he can progress very well for this franchise. Because Nick Perry, he's 29, so he's not going to be here for the long term, but Cleveland Farrell, on the other hand, 22 years old, so he's going to be here through the whole process of this rebuild. We want him to develop very well. Offensively, I'm going to give Josh Jacobs a load of carries here so he can develop somewhat well. We have a decent offensive line. Rodney Hudson is going to be the leader. Hopefully he can help Josh Jacobs put up some pretty big numbers his rookie year. Antonio Brown, of course, is just going to be an all-star all around. But the big question is, what do we want to do with Derek Carr? 28 years old, only an 80 overall. Probably somebody we're going to want to get rid of at some point during this rebuild. He's not really the guy, in Madden at least, with an 80 overall at 28 years old. He's not really the guy to bring us to a Super Bowl. Now, I'm not trying to trash talk him in real life. I think he is a very good quarterback. I think he will put up some decent numbers this year with Antonio Brown there. But just in Madden, he's a low overall with a high age. He's not really the guy we want. With that said and done, I'll see you guys at mid-season. Hopefully we can do half decent with this team, and hopefully our rookies, they generate some decent numbers. Coming off a 14-point loss to the Texans, if you look in your top left, doesn't look like we had a great season. We're 4-3, and to be honest, that's a little bit better than I thought we were going to do. Let's look at the division. We're actually second in the division. Chiefs are 2-6. I'm not sure how that's happening, but there's a chance we win the division here, and that would be above my expectations for this season. I did not think we were going anywhere this first year. Looking at the contracts, Rodney Hudson, I see his face. It's not what we like to see. But nobody else that we really need to bring back. Our old linebackers, I might bring back one of them. Vontae is perfect. He's 28, so he's still pretty old. A lot of guys have their contracts expiring. Holy cow! But none of them look like key guys we need to bring back. I'll probably sign Mike Glennon just for the depth. Have a backup quarterback. Why not? But other than Rodney Hudson, and I'm not sure about Richie Incognito because he might retire after this year. He is 36, so we will see what happens with that. But Doug Martin I'm probably going to let walk because we do have what's his name? I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. Josh Jacobs right now, and we also have my mind's going blank right now. I apologize. Jalen Richard, who's an elusive back. Josh Jacobs is a power back, so Doug Martin just kind of sitting in there in the mix. He is the highest overall, but I'm hoping Josh Jacobs develops a little bit to be at least a 78 by the end of the season, so that his loss isn't really that big of a deal. Rodney Hudson is getting up there in age. He's 30 years old, so we're going to offer him a 2-year deal, because he probably shouldn't regress that much in 2 years. So let's see if he takes this. He did want 3 years. We'll see if he takes 2. And he wants 3 years, so we'll have to give him what he wants. Looking at the stats so far on the year, Derek Carr, not a bad year at all. 12 touchdowns, a little low for my liking, but 2 interceptions. That is very good. Looking at rushing wise, Josh Jacobs on pace for a pretty good year. 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. So we're not putting the ball in the end zone a lot. Only, what? 12, only 17 total touchdowns. 18, my bad, if you count Jalen Richard. 18 total touchdowns for this offense in a 7-game span. So I'd like to put the ball in the end zone a little bit more. Receiving wise, Antonio Brown on pace for a 1,000-yard season, 3 touchdowns. Luke Wilson, tight end, 350 yards with 2 touchdowns. Tyler Williams putting up decent numbers. Jalen Richard, running back, putting up not that bad receiving numbers and 2 receiving touchdowns. So receiving core isn't looking that awful. Defensively, not getting the pressure we wanted from Cleveland Farrell. I wonder if he got hurt. He has no sacks at this point of the year, so he must have gotten injured at some point. Let's see. Yeah, he's only played 358 downs, so he must have been out for some time. Other than that, I'm not sure why he's not putting up numbers. But other than that, Nick Perry is 3.5 sacks at this point. Maurice Hurst with 4. And in the secondary, Marcus Jordan with 2 picks. Brandon Marshall a pick. Carl Joseph with a pick. Nick Nelson with a pick. So not awful at all. Brandon Marshall also with 3 deflections. Any touchdowns? I don't think we had. No touchdowns for this defense. But overall, not a bad season at all. I'm just checking out the awards right now, and Josh Jacobs is on pace to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is really what I want to see. Usually with the sim, Marquise Brown almost always wins it. With Josh Jacobs, reloading him with carries and he's producing, which is what we like to see. Cleveland Farrell. I'm just looking at the defensive now, and Cleveland Farrell is somehow top 10, and he's really not producing any numbers, which is kind of shocking. Now, at the end of our season, we did finish off with a win against the Broncos, but unfortunately, we did not make the playoffs. We finished third in the division at 7-9, so really a very poor second half of the season. And the Chiefs really picked it up and finished 8-8, which is quite remarkable. Just looking at the second half, we got 2 wins, then a very long losing streak. That's just not a playoff team. Just cannot do that. So clearly, we do need to find what is wrong with this team. So we're gonna go look at the stats to see what we need to fix to make this team playoff caliber. Already looking at Derek Carr's numbers right here. Not ideal. Very good at protecting the ball. With only 4 interceptions on the year. That's some Aaron Rodgers numbers right there. Only 28 touchdowns. With really not that great. 3,700 plus passing yards. Not amazing either. Rushing wise, Josh Jacobs must have gotten hurt. That sucks. Only 66. That's 666 rushing yards. Kind of sketchy. 7 touchdowns. Doug Martin did come in, by the looks of it, with 450 yards, only 1 touchdown. Jalen Richard, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Antonio Brown did finish with over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. So coming here and getting his job done. Tyler Williams, close to 800 yards, along with Luke Wilson. Defensively, Cleveland Farrell finished with 2.5 sacks, which is not what we wanted to see at all. Brandon Marshall also with 2.5. Nick Perry and Maurice Hurst really getting the only pressure. So we might need to fix the pass rush as well. I don't know why Cleveland Farrell isn't getting any sacks or any pressure. Secondary played pretty good. Marcus Jordan and Daryl Worley each finished with 3 interceptions on the year. Daryl Worley also had 6 deflections on the year. And a forced fumble, which is pretty good. And did we get any touchdowns? No defensive touchdowns. Not really to see, but it's whatever. Looking at the yearly awards, MVP goes to Marcus Mariota of the Cowboys. They're not. I don't know why I said Cowboys, because I saw Zeke. Marcus Mariota of the Tennessee Titans, not the Cowboys. We don't have anybody on here. Not a shock. Offensive Player of the Year goes to Tom Brady. Don't know how Marcus Mariota didn't win that, but whatever. Derek Carr did finish 8th in that run. Defensive Player of the Year goes to J.J. Watt. Let's see, but we don't have anybody in here. Not a shocker. Defense didn't do that well. Rookie of the Year went to Josh Jacobs still, even though he didn't really finish with that great of numbers, but hey, we'll take that. And Hunter Renfrow also getting in here, which is weird because I believe he was like our 4th string receiver. So I don't know how he made it to the top 10, but I'm not going to ask any questions. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Devin Bush, no doubt. It's usually him or Levi Wallace. Cleveland Farrell did finish 8th, which is kind of shocking to me, but that's okay. With all that said and done, not a great first season, but that's kind of what we expected going into this. Hopefully we have a decent draft pick, and I'll see you guys in the off season. I know this is totally unrelated to this rebuild, but my Packers are in the Super Bowl. Hopefully that happens in real life, but I'm not really expecting that. But let's see if they win it. Oh, they got their ass kicked. In free agency, we did pick up Kendall Fuller just to kind of help out our corners. And we picked up Alex Lewis since Richie Incognito did retire, as I predicted. We offered some others, but you know, we didn't have as much cap space as I would have liked. But we did help out our secondary a lot. Honestly, I didn't think this was going to go through. But we do trade up to get the #1 overall pick because we do need a middle linebacker. And I know I'm not showing like the draft scouting or anything, but there's a very good middle linebacker who's going to go #1 no matter what. So we did trade up to get him. We did have to trade away our 2nd string D tackle, but that's okay. So hopefully this middle linebacker is as good as he looks. And with that saying done, let's get into this draft. Now, I was talking about Miles McIntosh when I traded up for #1, but Ashley Wade has 29 reps on the bench. But I'm going to go with my gut. I'm not going to be fooled by the 8-hit power. Going Miles McIntosh here at #1. He's a 77 star dev or better, you never know. Unless you do know, then you'll be able to tell. Comment down below if you know how to tell what their dev is. With that said, we do get a 77 middle linebacker. That does add to our depth very well. Looking at the quarterbacks in this draft, I'm just not getting a good vibe at all. Daniel Tucker out of Oregon looks okay, but his combine is just atrocious. We did have to trade away a defensive tackle to get the #1 pick. So at 11 here, this Darqueze Hamilton out of Oklahoma State looks very solid. 35 reps on the bench and runs a 4.93 at 300 pounds. We're going to have to take him here at 11, and he's a 71 star dev or better. 24 years old. Apparently he's ranked 16th in true talent. We drafted him at 11. I don't see that as a big reach. He got 87 strength. Very good. 74 speed is not bad at all for a defensive tackle. 93 stamina, that's very good as well. Checking out other drafts, we did get the stud middle linebacker at #1. Miles McIntosh out of Penn State, followed by Darqueze Hamilton. 71 defensive tackle. Slight reach, but not that bad. We did fill a hole that we needed to fill. Melvin Michaels, not the greatest pickup, but you never know. And then later rounds, just not really that great, but what can you expect? But overall, a pretty decent draft. I want to see what that other middle linebacker was. He actually went 2nd, so he's a 74 though, so I'm pretty sure he made the right choice. Checking out this offense now, not much has changed. Josh Jacobs up to a 78 overall. And AB has dropped to a 94, so we definitely need to pick up another star receiver before he regresses too much. But he's fine as of right now. Offensive line, still not awful. I'd love to pick up a left tackle at some point, hopefully in the next draft. Probably take a quarterback in the next draft as well. Derek Carr only up to an 81. He's only going to get worse from here. And he didn't really get the job done last season. Defensively, these players are obviously going to start. Dykes, Hamilton, and McIntosh. But since the preseason is coming, I want them to be backups so that they get most of the reps, just to reveal that totally hidden dev trait that I have no idea what it is. And other than that, outside linebacker is probably going to be what we pick up next in the draft for this defense. Cleveland Farrell, only a 78, not great. And I did sign Nick Perry to another 1-year deal, just because he was putting up pretty decent numbers last year, so hopefully he can do it again this year. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment. Let me know any suggestions, anything that you would have done differently, anything that you'd like me to do, anything you'd like me to add, any players you want me to add to the team, anything like that. Anyways, I hope you guys are going to enjoy this series, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.